Going on, everybody? I'm just putting a shirt on. We'll get started in a second here. Good to see everybody. Hope you guys are having a good day. All that kind of stuff. Hope we're all chilling. All that stuff. Oh my goodness. Hope y'all are doing good. I just wanted to change my shirt. I'm not gonna be live for super duper long today. Maybe we'll do an hour, hour and a half, whatever. Hang out a little bit. Maybe I should have done this yesterday. I was getting tons of questions in my chat. I'm not anybody special. I don't know anything special or unique, but I have spent some time studying stuff and all this stuff. Oh, Alicia, good to see you. Happy Monday, whatever it is today. And first. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but if anybody had wanted to talk about politics or about whatever, philosophy, free will, one of my buddies was doing a stream. They were talking about free will, determinism, and stuff like that. You are special. Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. Trying to be special. Trying to be special. Yeah. Is anybody else willing to do this and put themselves out there that way? Yeah, a lot of people. I think. I think. Um, I think the main thing is, I don't know, for anyone who wants to do YouTube or whatever. I'll be honest. I prefer to be either working back in a tech job. I'd prefer to be working back at a call center, just in terms of like having income outlooks and prospects, right? Um, it's obviously cool. It's better to talk to people. Like it's more fun to talk to people and stuff. Um, yeah, and like people, you guys say stuff that someone calling about like a credit card charge or because their app doesn't work or whatever. Those you don't get to have those same types of conversations, but um, yeah, but also I do think that like a lot of the big creators on social media, they get so much back from people chatting and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, I mean, up to you if you want to do something with it. But hey, Speedy Shark, good to see you. Is life even worth living? Yeah, that's like a question about like there's a philosophy called fatalism. So you have to be careful about like terms of service and stuff. I absolutely think life is worth living. Life is worth living. Yeah. Um, yeah. No, I think the my answer to this is like the way our brains evolved is absolutely you can look at the good side and the bad side of things. Um, and there's almost this independence when we think about our own well-being. Like, um, even if you're coming from like a really messed up life or a messed up circumstance, you or I, life gets screwed up or whatever it is, or your life's really good, um, or something seems like it's attractive, right? Something seems like it's pulling you out of something for a couple of minutes. Um, then like yeah, it's like cool. Well, the reason that is, even when everything is sort of feels like it's collapsing or it feels like we don't have energy to go do things, that is because we intrinsically sort of have well-being, right? We have moral worth. Hey, Joseph. Hello. The beard needs to go, my dude. Appreciate it. Yeah. I mean, once I shave it off, it'll be another like 4 or 5 years. So, um, was your nickname Goober growing up? I think everybody who's a millennial got called Goober growing up, at least by mom and dad. Being a bit of a goober. My online moniker now is Duck. I use the same handle on YouTube and Discord. So I'm Duck, right? It's not like a personal brand or something, but there's actually someone, Sarah the Raging Tomato. She hosts debates and has some of the big YouTubers on. And this is how famous I am. But there's a duck emoji in the members section on her channel. When you guys got the green name tag for like the bigger channels and stuff, um, you're allowed to, So so there is a channel with 15,000 viewers who know me. I'm that famous, right? That's how good my life is, right? Super helpful stuff. Helpful stuff, right? Uh, Good question, Lou. Thank you. Appreciate you. I appreciate you, my friend. Big 30, good vibes only chat. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Yeah, you got something that ails you. Um, I'll take a stab, put an optimistic spin on it if you want to, right? There's no like cult like, like Scientology pressure. Yeah, bring me your worst drama and stuff like that, so random people on the internet can look at it. No, we can do some philosophy, religion, none of that like guru stuff. Um, Alicia Marie in chat asks. Alicia's been here. Alicia's been on the channel for a couple days at least. So shout out to Alicia. I appreciate the support on the channel. It's awesome. What do you think about people joking about the Texas tragedy? I've been seeing a lot of takes on this. Yeah, I don't think it's good to joke about a Texas tragedy, right? I think people who believe in climate change can imagine that there's probably like 1,000 ecological reasons why, and like who knows, maybe it's not because a Ford F-250 is sitting next to you or something like that, but uh, it should be the case that like when we see floodwaters rising, there's a reason this happened, right? And so you know I think the productive response is to think about emergency response, is to think about readiness for environmental change. And at the end of the day, some people want to have, myself included, I'd like to have that dialogue about climate change and just how we relate to our ecology or something, right? It's almost like, to me, it's like there's this Pandora's box of why you have 30 people or 50 to 100 people, 100. I think it was at 100 last time I checked the news on it. 100 people and 20 young souls, right? That stuff, but somebody's got to go out there and do like actual work and communication, and it doesn't make up for the pain at the end of the day, the pain and the tragedy that the victims suffered. And so I wouldn't wish that on anyone. I think if people are into like comedy, right? If people are into comedy and you want to make jokes, good comedians can make clean jokes. Good comedians, guys like Jim Gaffigan, like I look, Patrice O'Neill is my favorite, so I'm not saying be a Puritan, right? Um, I like Mitch Hedberg too. Mitch Hedberg is fairly clean most of the time, but yeah, that's how I feel about that. Joseph, my online handle is Duck. The channel is called Duck's Y. Good to have you. If anyone wants to like and subscribe, just kind of chilling today. I did 3 streams yesterday, so that's about me. But yeah, so I wanted to kind of say what's up, see if we talk or whatever. I don't know. Have I seen the new Jurassic World movie? No, I have not. If it's not free on Amazon Prime, I haven't seen it at this point in my life. Um, I like the old Jurassic Parks. That's how old I am. I'm 35, so I very much enjoyed. I like watching those old movies quite a bit. Life finds a way. Uh, Polar Geist, do you follow Jesus, my guy? He's the only one. I used to be. I'm ex-Roman Catholic, former Roman Catholic. Um, I like talking about theology and stuff. I don't mind people saying that the gospel is literally true and Jesus lived the most human, perfect life. I'm not like a radical, outspoken atheist, but no versus and. So buts versus ands. I don't know if you guys know that little mental trick. And while despite I understand some theology, I've been religious in my life. I've done social justice and stuff with it. I've prayed to God. I've asked for forgiveness, asked for guidance, and I've also spent no time doing those things. If someone wants to debate about it and not be charitable or be mean about it, then I will debate. Right? You get the but, I get the and. I get the and. Right? We're going to link optimism instead of doing all the same thing at one time. What? Yes, I love hearing people talk about serious things. Huge creators are thinking about a million things that their takes uh, that make their takes dumb or disingenuous. Yeah, whatever. It's cool. I think YouTube's awesome. Just my take on social media as a 35-year-old guy. So obviously this is like unk, right? I could be totally wrong about this, but um, I think there's platforms like Discord, right? There's platforms like Discord, Threads, Instagram. There's lots of places to connect and build that community. I love talking to you guys on this sort of mobile format. But like just to not lie to you guys, like in terms of how my brain works about it and how some big creators build sophistication into their channel, even though I look like a total degen right now. Um, it's like, well, if you guys want to connect as a community, like I'd have a Discord link. And some of you guys want to sit here and talk about philosophy, right? We do a bigger stream or something, we get a stream where we do have 170 people watching. I want to be able to stay on the topic. So, I think a lot of creators get messed up because they are doing a lot of stuff for the audience, but they're not doing stuff for their whole audience. So, good question, good comment too. Have you ever went to get a prostate exam this year? No, I'm not that old. I'm not that unk. I'm not a grandpa. What are you? I don't know. Queer heteronormative male. I am a cis white male. Happy to associate with queer culture. Try to do a LGBTQ friendly channel and everyone friendly channel. We're sounding muffled. Yeah, River Crab. At some point, I'll upgrade and get a microphone if I keep doing YouTube. I probably will, right? I don't know. I don't have anything else going on. I think the jokes are a sign that America is angry and something needs to change. That's about the Texas floods. Yeah, the Texas floods. Yeah, you know, yeah. I think people are sick of half answers in America. And when you have a half answer, something's confusing. There's comedians like Eric Andre who do that sort of like absurdist comedic style and stuff. Like, oh, what in my potato? Yeah. I left my air conditioner running, and when I got home, there was ice in my freezer and outside it. Like obviously I'm not that funny of a person, but like, when that sort of attitude about something that happened and has had an explanation for the last 50 years, to be honest, right? Right? That Texas and people in the area surrounding Texas and in the United States and anywhere in the world can look at danger in nature. They could have, and we could have done something about it for a long time. And you didn't, right? You didn't. You saw this river that maybe had less tributaries or less ways to flow. Maybe there's nothing drastic that could have changed this particular event, but we know there's similar events like wildfires and stuff that could happen. That's a tragedy, right? It's a tragedy, and it's also political incompetence when we look and we say, well, look, there could be an equal sum win-win solution, and this could have been some other way. People don't get that. People don't get that because that's not talking about the tragedy. It's not talking about something familiar. Dakota, I'm scared to say names on my channel, but Dakota Boggs says, can I get a shout out to my big homie? What is it? Derek Chauvin? I don't know. Yeah. What's up? What's up, big homie Chauvin? Chauvin? Oh, we've got someone that looks like a Slavic language. So to oil. Hello, good to see you. Thanks for joining the channel. I can't read that, so I apologize. Free Palestine in the chat from Mr. Christmas. Yep. Violence is escalating, so who wouldn't have thought that was going to happen eventually? It appears that Al-Qassam is getting more proficient or has found ways to more tactically deploy the weapons they have against Israeli troops. This is in a response because Israeli troops, the IDF has been bombing civilian sites. So probably I would be surprised if there wasn't like Hamas there. I don't think Israel is I don't think Israel is intentionally doing a genocide, but the war is that horrific at this point. Does anyone want to say the war isn't? Saving Grace Outdoors says, would you rather die leaving? There's a God, find out there isn't. For guy believing there isn't and find out there is. Yeah, so is that like a Pascal's wager reference? Pascal's wager, if you guys are sort of new to theology and philosophy, and this is about epistemology, which asks, how do you know something? How do you actually know something to be true? Especially if it's like a big question, right? You're asking, should I, whatever, yeah. Should I go do YouTube? Or what type of trust do I have for any government? And so with Pascal's wager, I think Pascal's wager is like I could tell you that your hamburger on your plate is God, right? So, and Pascal's wager says, well, it's really bad if you don't believe in God and there is a God. And so because it's so bad to not believe in God in that case, you should believe in God. And so this is rational. It's about mathematics and axiomatic thinking. It's about really foundational, rational thinking, axioms, and being able to apply those into any question that the world throws at you. And it's like, well, the reason this is sort of wrong from my perspective is, I think the main point is like, yeah, why wouldn't I say that a cherry tomato on my plate at lunch or something like that is, I would think that that constitutes like God. Isn't that true? Yeah, and sorry, but like the, I think there's different. This is something to know about philosophy arguments through the ages and stuff. Like as philosophy has sort of gotten more pronounced, people can formulate Pascal's wager in different ways. So if you're looking for a reason to believe in God or to not believe in God, you can both be looking at the same argument. You can both look at Pascal's wager. Free Didio. Oh, cool. Yeah, we've got at least one other person on that sort of millennial Gen Z cusp. So please start talking about Adolf Hitler's human crematorium. Yeah, documenting for people in the political science and political justice. Yeah, documenting sites of Hitler's atrocities during World War II, as well as close documenting of any wartime efforts is always about justice because you always have innocent people that get caught up. Do you guys disagree that we don't need to learn about what happens after a war? You guys can let me know. The U.S. Army used, the U.S. Army used certain Xbox 3 prosecute and Xbox 360 controllers for certain drones. Yeah, sure. Yep. They became that abundant and that cheap. Who's responsible for freeing Palestine? Well, at this point, it would be Hamas and Benjamin Netanyahu. It would be Hamas and the elected government of Israel. We also just saw, just for like current news for everybody here, we just saw that the ICC did issue arrest warrants. The ICC, the International Criminal Court, issued arrest warrants for leaders of the Taliban. And this is about decisions that happened like last year. These are old decisions to keep girls out of school. The ICC has said, well, this appears like it's intentional gender discrimination that's setting girls in wherever it is, back, years or a year or two. What is that, Iraq or Afghanistan or something? That's how stupid I am. Dude, both sides are bad, man. Yeah. I'm just gonna scroll down a little bit. Hey, Vic, good to see you again. Yeah, if you guys have questions on diet or nutrition or anything like that, yeah, happy to answer those as well. I'm a vegan. I can tell you about that. I can just talk about general metabolic stuff or macro micronutrients. Not an expert, but someone who actually has experience with that stuff in my body. Happy to take a stab at it. Vic wants to give religion a break. What do you guys think? Is religion helping us solve the problems of the day? Yeah. What do you guys think? Can only a Christian or only a Muslim, only like a practicing Orthodox Jew, only a Hindu, only a Jain, only people of this religion tradition can present good solutions? What about you guys? We got another Free Palestine comment in chat. Sharktenko, my heart's with all y'all for sure. Israel assassin, Iran #1, very nice. Bomb Israel, vive le Hamas. Jim, are you in France or Africa or Vietnam or something? What's the question again? The question is, do you guys think that we need religion to solve the world's problems? Is just the way we talk about morality enough? Can we use a concept like justice? Do you guys believe justice exists? Do you believe it ever has? Yeah, I am a little sunburned. Who is that? Left Dearest Storm. Yeah. I am a little sunburned. And Buddy Duck, he goes running in the summer. Sometimes I get a sunburn. Whatever. I wish I could be disciplined enough to be a vegan. Yeah, it is hard for sure. There's pros and cons, right? On the one hand, like some people think that, oh, like I can just eat as much, rice and quinoa and stuff as I want. But sometimes our stomach, the way our brains actually work with food is like really rich, good food. It's like, yeah, I can eat a bunch. If you guys have seen Beard Meats Food, that dude Adam on YouTube who does competitive eating, he's like an athletic eater. Sort of crazy, right? But like me, kind of a little bit of a skinnier guy, like I've thrown down in the past, right? I used to be able to throw down and eat quite a bit of food, nothing too crazy. But yeah, you can make a ton of any kind of food and then just not want to eat it, and then you're hungry 10 minutes later. So if your body's telling you want something else, just be patient. You got to be a little patient. You guys don't like, but that's Unk advice, right? Stick to whatever your plan is, and Unk says you got to ask Unk before you do something different. Yeah, yeah, brother, I think if we could have an honest conversation without getting all the conservative evangelical nuts up in a fuss in the West, as well as not excite the actual fundamental sort of extremism in the Middle East, we could talk about, well, Hamas has been promoting the sectarian divide in Palestine and Gaza for a long time. They said that, look, you not only, it's not just the second intifada, the second frittata that, bro, not Idi Amin, whatever his name was, Yasser Arafat, right? Not Idi Amin, but Yasser Arafat was whipping up this intifada frittata, guys. And Hamas's position was like, well, look, where the world is going is the world is changing, and so this does have to eventually become geopolitical, right? Did they not say that? Was that not part of the argument? And then at the same time, Israel's been a bully in the region. So talk about both things. I don't give a shit about Muslims or Jews or what. Sorry, pardon my French. I don't care about any of that stuff. Yeah, people. That happens in the U.S. a lot too. Not sure if you're in the U.S. with me here, brother, but in the U.S. a lot of times people get away with rhetoric. They come with half solutions, or they come with a half-formed problem. There's not transparency. So having transparency generally means that people like us can take away and have a conversation. You have the confidence to be more patient as a society. We don't often always think of virtues like patience or virtues like like focusing on human rights or ethics as a social cue or a social thing. It's like this is a trait I have. But when we talk about justice and we try and understand what type of society we live in and what that society is then capable of, um, you know, that's where to me terms like justice are things that you do in the present. Justice are things that we seek to achieve. And justice is the way that leaders like Benjamin Netanyahu, leaders within Hamas, leaders within Hezbollah have to make decisions because they're governing for people who do not have guns, right? They don't have weapons. Is that rocket science? There's not a single human being who would rather be at war than be a little broke and have to go to the laundromat to do their clothes. People would always rather have that optionality to work or to understand why they can't do more. There's no circumstance which isn't optimistic when you are able to conceive of a just society, in my opinion. Yeah, CJ, we got CJ Tyson in chat. CJ, if you want to let me know why Trump is king, I'm happy to talk about it. If you have an argument or an issue you support, if you have a philosophy for your politics or something, or a politics for your philosophy, let me know. Oh, I didn't see the Diddy news. Somebody says there's Diddy news. Chuckin and Jive-In says Diddy has just been released. Yeah, we talked about this a little bit. We'll see what happens next, right? We also have the DOJ and FBI just for conspiracy, sort of big social issue talk. The DOJ and FBI said that they did an investigation. They have reviewed all the documents, and there was no Epstein client list. There was no there's no malfeasance or bad play when he died during internment at a detention facility in jail. They said it was a swish slide, as has been said in the past. So you look like if Jesus if you're I feel like Jesus if Jesus was a hobo, minus the whole holy thing that apparently Jesus had going on. Joseph, keeping it real for me. Scumbag, I can provide evidence that you're right. Jimmy Swaggart was America's solution. Now I don't know who Jimmy Swaggart is. Is that a reference to Mark Wahlberg? Mark Wahlberg. I know something Lee Swaggart was his name in that like stupid Sony movie. It's called Shooter, I think. He played this Marine sniper that got drawn into a dark and mysterious political conspiracy. He didn't want to be part of it. Swaggart just wanted to be left at home with his dog. He was already living off the grid because he didn't trust society, but he stepped up to serve his country one more time. He did his due diligence, and it still bit him. Islam Truth, mashallah. Yeah, that's cool. I would like to do, maybe when I have time for longer form discussions. I don't know if you guys have seen either apologetics, dawa, or philosophy channels, any of those sort of formats that they do longer form talks and stuff. But yeah, it's cool. Yeah, if you guys you want, as long as you're not preaching in chat here or whatever, cool. Yeah, I forgot what it is. I forgot what it's called, but yeah, there's one God named Allah, and Muhammad is his prophet. I got into a discussion with some Dawa folks about whether or not that actually counts as axiomatic, like how this is axiomatic and applied outside of just its internal consistency. So, but yeah, it would be fun to have discussions, conversations, have some people share stuff, whatever. There's a time and day for everything. Bernie attacked everyone around him because he had Benny. Yeah. Yeah, the IDF has been building a fairly strong military for a long time. I don't think there's a lot of people that had doubts that Israel was, uh, not just a nuclear state, but everything else they have going on. They had a very competent military for a state of their size. Um, so change my name to Ibrahim Raham Abdul Muhammad. ISIS came from Islam as well. Everything that Islam birthed, it's just trouble to the world. I had been in the IDF, baby. Brother, are you chilling? Are you chilling outside Kashmir? You Punjab, my friend. No, Islam has it's cultural commentary, right? The actual reality that people have in day to day. This is the BS, or not BS. I don't want to be too negative, but the social media takeover of sort of society is that, like, we've had and seen, not just Islam, but lots of different worldviews and beliefs and things where you used to be able to actually be like a white supremacist, and you could by yourself be a white supremacist, and if somebody wanted to interview you for their show, they were free to do that. If you wanted to make a documentary about it, in most cases, like all cases, you were free to go do that. But you also wouldn't have like a live audience of 500,000 people watching you on YouTube because you decided to go act like an idiot. And now it's the case that there's so many people who are on that border of acting like an idiot that on social media, it's hard to know what people still believe today, right? Sorry to be mean. I don't mean to be that awful. I think it's great people can see how other people express themselves in the way that we express ourselves normally, in the way in which we sort of fuel our days and kind of go forward. But it's also crazy to people over the age of 30. So any young folks here, it's crazy over for old guys like me, any of your unks, right? Your African dad moment. I will call the CEO of T-Mobile and turn your phone off. He will take my call. If you do not respect the rules of this household, I will call the CEO of T-Mobile and you will not have a phone. Metro PCS, I do not care. That just used to be how it was. You can't go on Fox News. You couldn't have Piers Morgan talking to you because you believed crazy stuff. Now people watch people because they have crazy conspiracy beliefs. It is what it is, though. Foul Chaser, good to see you. We got Foul Chaser in chat saying Jesus saves. Yep. If you have any questions, if you want to ask me a question, if you want to ask me a debate question, or you want to just say an argument, I can read your arguments. I can steel man arguments for you guys. I'm a pretty decent philosopher. I'm a fairly axiomatic, systematic, organized thinker. And so if you guys want to talk about religion, if you guys want to hear the best form of an argument, I don't care if I agree with it or not. I'm happy to just have a dialogue. What's my ethnicity, Ducks? Wait, no, brother, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. It just made me think of, I was reading about Mohammed Hijab the other day. He got a lot of crap from, as far as from like basically anything east of Pakistan in just a cultural or geopolitics sense, right? Mohammed Hijab, big time YouTuber, very smart guy. He has both masters and PhD degrees, so educated guy. Guy who loves talking, debating, all this other stuff. But he had a lot of media outlets in India and China, in like Taiwan, lots of places saying, well, this guy's really just supporting a very fundamental form of extremism, of Islam that bumps into extremism. So I don't like covering those stories on one side. I think he's doing what a lot of other people are doing. He's probably not having the talks that he wants, but also if you go do dawa or apologetics and you say fundamentalist things that make people think you're against gender equality or something, what is someone going to think? They're saying the same things they should be saying about, like, when Donald Trump does a press conference, right? It's crazy. It's crazy. Victor Sneller, why does the world exist? Pick your poison. Because of complexity, because of natural philosophy, natural law. Some of the precepts we describe in there are probably closest. Because of randomness, who knows? Do I think Trump should support Israel? Yeah, I think the United States should be pressuring Israel to build better regional relationships. I think the U.S. should be pressuring Israel to do that so that the West can still be a very effective, targeted, competitive force for democracy and freedom. I don't think the United States needs to be the world police. I don't think we need to be everywhere at once. But I also think that the people of the world basically paid into the United States. Like one way of saying this, or under asking the question, this is a question. One way of saying this is that people paid into the United States to promote liberal competition, to promote institutions that strive towards liberal freedoms. If you're not based in that, if your competition or the types of power and violence that you endorse are not based in liberal competition or liberal freedoms, then the United States probably has an ugly but true answer to that. It's at least as true as whatever you're saying. So that's how crazy it is. I think that's also at the heart of nonviolence, right? Being able to talk about a polarized world, talk about ideological or market-based or military competition, and figure out what the minimum necessary sort of form of violence is, if there is one. How do you even justify violence in the first place? You can say both things. Yeah, Victor, to Victor in chat, I feel like I did not give you a satisfactory answer. If you want to give me more to go on, I know a little bit about like physics and stuff. I know enough philosophy and theology. If I have an answer, I can talk about it. I can talk about what some people might mean by creation. I can talk about why that's a satisfactory answer most cases. Either existence always existed, or it's so good it created itself. Yeah, could be either. Whatever. Existence is so good. Yeah, I feel like, Victor, I feel like people give very rich answers to questions like why existence has existed in the past. It could be that there's just no such thing as identity, and so there's always a corresponding view of the world. This is very modern physicalism. There's always a corresponding view of the world to like truth statements, but those are also subjective. They're based on a perspective, and so when we make a claim, about something like expansion, or we talk about areas of the universe like around black holes and before black holes form, where we know exotic physics exist. Those are deeply explanatory because they're sort of about the same types of physics that we see on Earth. They're sort of about the same thing. Alternatively, if I say, well, like, look, I just had a Starbucks coffee and I really like Tim Hortons, or I like Dunkin' Donuts better. I like 6 pumps of caramel. I don't like that Starbucks wanted me to drink their fair trade coffee just black. So when I make this type of claim, there is, it's still true. It's still knowledge, but it could just be the case that it's only true and useful. It's only explanatory in a much smaller lens. Peace through strength, says X-Ray. Yeah, if you want to say more, say more. Say more, fam. You all, the real ones already know that when somebody says, yeah, say more, fam, you know something else is coming. You know there's at least two sides to that multi-dimensional equation. Peace through strength, guy. I just wanted to talk about, sorry. Can you guys hear me okay? I just wanted to talk about peace through strength and the advancement of military might in the 20th century. It's fascinating. Some people, like John Marshmeyer, there's people who say that, well, the number of bombs, the number of pew-pews, all this stuff, the number of all this crap is what determines how the political order develops. People can believe or deny that, right? And so saying peace through strength, while it sounds like a message of peace, or it sounds like a foundational description of the world, is that true? What does it mean to apply force in the first place? I don't even know where to start with that question or statement. Yeah, if you guys have questions, by the way, my name is Duck. This is Duck's Y. Welcome to the channel. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Just having some fun talking to all of the folks in chat. Everybody showed up and is showing out right now. It's good to see you. Somebody said good vibes only today. So we're doing some good vibes. You got a question, comment, concern, you guys want to discuss it, happy to bring it up. It's all good. Yeah, to Brother's credit, I sort of accused Brother of being Punjab. I had Punjab friends growing up. Beta, I know what it looks like. I'm just kidding. Are you good at geometry? I was very good at geometry. Thank you for asking. That was as far as I got being good at geometry. I was good at geometry. I was decent at logic. I took up to like symbolic and prepositional logic in college. So you would have like 17 to 35 step proofs at that level. It's been a long time. My brain is fried from fast food and energy drinks and everything else. Life's still good, right? But I did like geometry. I liked the sort of systemic thinking, the visual sort of narrative, all that kind of stuff. Haley Kelly, are you single? I appreciate you asking. Welcome to the stream, Haley. I don't have to answer a question like that, though. I appreciate you. I was a speechwriter for Kamala, says S. Marty. He talks, but he says nothing. Yeah, sure. Yeah, if you want a big word for justice, how are we doing right now? Who knows? There's always a way to innovate. There's always a way to talk about doing more. There's always a way to talk about the way teams work together. There's always a way to talk about the way national interest seems to coalesce into such a unified angle. And that if you make it to be that way, that's about peace, right? It's not about peace through strength. It's about peace. You can color on it all you want, but Mr. Rajput has a comment, question, says America killed 2 million people in Iraq. Yep, I think that's a factual number. You can look up estimates, Wikipedia, for you guys if you haven't seen this. If you go to Wikipedia or anyone who reports statistics on conflict, the sort of aggregators will give you a range of the number of people involved and the actual number of people who got hurt or killed in a war. So 2 million people is definitely within that range for Iraq. It was a very violent war. It was a violent war. It was in an urban setting, and it was against a well-organized and established, knowledgeable adversary. A well-equipped, an adversary that knew how to communicate. I'm from Phoenix, brother. Yeah, and guys, just for chat subscribers, if you guys want to like and subscribe, cool. But Yeah, if you guys are in chat, please don't ask anyone to dox themselves or anything like that. There's no need. You can ask me though. Yo, Duck, is it pink though? And what's it smell like? Haywood Jablami, hey, good to see you. I don't know. I don't know what that means. Spain, but I'm from California. Oh, cool. To be or not to be, Victor? I was told by chat today is to be. Today is to be. We are beings, we're optimistic beings even today. Rados Gonford says, have you heard about epigenetics? Now evidence is emerging that a woman's children can take on some of the features of her previous, yeah, I don't know. Red laws, that sounds like complete BS. That sounds like total BS. Red Law Sconford says that there's new research in epigenetics, which isn't how DNA works. It's not how epigenetics work. It's not where epigenetics lives. So epigenetics talks about DNA and RNA expression, talks about the amino acids that provide our body instructions and mechanisms, how they work. And epigenetics, where genetics, you just get it at birth and those are your genes. You know, stuff can happen, but those are your genes. Epigenetics changes throughout your life because the tiniest sort of level of chemistry that we talk about with the human body, getting pretty close down there, very close. You know, it's always working. It's always working. Always working. David A doesn't like that. I tuck my bangs. I whip my hair back and forth a little bit. The Yang Historia, good to see you up in chat. How you doing? Whoever just joined with what looks, I don't know what language that is, but whoever just said hi with a flag by your name, I'm super ignorant, but welcome to the stream. It's good to have you. My name is Duck, so good to see you. Vicky in chat comes from a military family. That's cool. It's cool. I talked to some of the guys at the local Legion post. They're very cool people. Yeah, today we are doing an AMA. If you guys want to talk about Donald Trump or Gator Gitmo, Alligator Alcatraz, as it's been called, if you guys have questions about stories in the news, if you guys want to talk about philosophy, religion, whatever it is, anything, happy to take it on. If you guys want to talk about natalism, genetics, science, physics, religion, philosophy, I already said those last two, but let's talk. We can talk about free will. It's good to see everybody. And yeah, you know, who knows? I was planning on staying live for about another 45 minutes, so I appreciate everybody who's joined. It's good to see everyone. And yeah, I'm just chilling, actually. We are just chilling. Is gender a performance or biological fact? I think sex is a biological fact. I think that's the nomenclature that has been used. And I believe sex signifies, if we talk about male or female in terms of sex, I believe that signifies a pairing of chromosomes. It doesn't say anything else about those chromosomes, but we know that in XX and XY, like what's it called, a phenotype, you get that much out of by saying that is a sexual male or sexual female. I don't believe that gender, saying she buys the makeup, doesn't necessarily say anything about the genes that she came in with. It just says that she bought the makeup. Saying that he eats a smash burger, he knows how to make a smashy. I believe that that sort of terminology is, it's about a lot of socially constructed things. People can absolutely bring up their phenotype, their chromosomes. They can talk about their mom and dad. They can talk about their grandmother and grandfather. But again, I don't believe that that creates a scientific or empirical designation in the way that sex necessarily does, in my view, and in the view of science. Yeah, ice cold, baby. Y'all want to get a little ice cold? That's a good thing. El Croco, hello from Birmingham, UK. Hello, welcome from all the way across the pond, mate. I don't know how to say that. Today, in the United States, our closest allies, must be considered to be the remnants of the once great British Empire. Today, now the Commonwealth, promoting freedom, and all other kinds of technological innovations amenable to democracy. Perhaps in the year 1942, we'd see the last true bulwark against fascism. So I say to you, greetings, El Croco, from the United States of America, all the way from New York to San Diego. You'd be welcome, because we are all Americans at the end of it. Yeah, I don't envy the West at all. Yeah, I do have I've got a bunch of quotes up next to me. I've got a bunch of Samuel Huntington here. He argued that Western hubris, as some people want to approach the topic, Western hubris and Western values have been monopolized to describe competition. And so that sentiment in chat, that I don't envy the West. Yeah, but he said this about everyone. He said everybody has hubris. Every civilization sees itself as the center of the world and writes its history as the central drama of human civilization. So the actions we go out and do, and how we phenomenologically or psychologically, how we perceive ourselves doing actions based on values and beliefs, every civilization in the world, every strong culture, every strong geographical region with culture, religion, values, ideas, beliefs, political beliefs, a system of both force and opportunity and violence. And we refer to all of this when we refer to ourselves. We imagine the world to be a certain way based on all of that stuff. So this is Samuel Huntington. His big idea is called The Clash of Civilizations. He's saying this isn't only something that the big Hollywood or Bollywood producers do. This isn't what happens when you start a radio or television or internet industry. It is just the way society was. It is the baggage that society brings with it, for better or worse. Nyla's here again. Nyla, it is so good to see you. Welcome back to the Ducks White channel. Nyla was tearing it up in chat. At my time, I think this was as late as like 12 p.m., 1 a.m. yesterday. We were up a little bit late. I don't think I'm going that long today, but it is super good to see familiar faces in here. So Nyla, good to see you. I like Pinto Bean says he looked like Jesus if he realized he was gay and decided not to sacrifice himself. Absolutely, yep. Yeah, someone else said I look like Jesus, but if he was homeless. I appreciated someone pointing that out. I feel that way sometimes. I feel that way. I feel like I've got everyone else's identity living inside me. Welcome to Slight Neurodivergence, folks. My life is such a mess, but we are being optimistic today. I hope your life's good. If you got a question about life being good, about religion, philosophy, about Samuel Huntington, about life in the West for better or worse, about life in the East and what I might know about it, feel free to ask. It's always great to see you guys. I promise if you guys bring a good attitude, I'll try and bring a little energy sometimes. You and I together, you guys can be my subscribers, right? You guys can help me grow this channel, and in return, you get nothing. You get the spirit of goodwill. How is this not a fair trade? This is what YouTube wanted me to say to you. No, but I got the energy, guys. I got the energy. I can read your comments. I'll do some show prep. I'm going to have Sam, maybe for the next week, I'll have Samuel Huntington's ideas. We'll talk about competition. We can talk about Trump, whatever it is. Who knows? watch Tommy Robinson's Silence documentary. Yeah, Tommy Robinson. This is another example of just a guy who should be able to be angry and have his beliefs in the way he wants. And there's no reason that a million people, because he's entertaining, need to watch Tommy Robinson. I don't think Tommy Robinson has good ideas about society. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see Tommy Robinson doing the same thing. Walk into a call center. Walk into a call center anywhere on earth where people are like, oh my God, screw my life, dude. Screw my life. I have 400 milligrams of caffeine a day. There's like a couple people who already have boring lives and like really subpar diets. They're going downhill more slowly, but they are going downhill. And this guy now wants me to talk about identity and race. He wants me to talk about identity politics. No, Tommy Robinson, no, get the log into the soft phone or get out. Log in, you ring it up. You ring up the items the customers bring to you or you get out. I don't think Tommy Robinson needs to have or should have such a large social media following. If you want to speak in a hateful way that it increases the burden, decreases the optimism, you don't want to give people the opportunity to think clearly, I don't buy that guy. I don't buy it at all. S. Marty says, do you ever shower? I bet that room stank. Yeah, of course. And it is. I eventually might upgrade the studio. I do a ton of research. I love technology. So if anybody's on YouTube, whatever, I'll just tell you this real quick. But yeah, I do a ton of research about both software as well as things like microphones, cameras, all that stuff. I don't want you guys to think that there's no sophistication in the head. You guys can always ask. I'll be transparent. I'll try and answer as honestly as I can. Obviously, we have just under 500 subscribers, so we're not that big of a channel. If you guys want to like and subscribe, also, I do appreciate it. But yeah, I don't think to just do this and stuff, I would ever need to upgrade, right? I could just log in every day and do this. But who knows, maybe to bring guests on or something, or to do a call-in show, I might eventually buy my camera, all that kind of stuff. So the room does stink. To S. Marty in chat, I appreciate you saying that. I would like to be able to present information, your guys' questions, comments, queries, concerns. If you guys are having a conversation that's interesting for the whole audience, I'd love to be able to bring that up in an interesting way. And so, yeah, I'm kind of considering how stinky my environment is and not in a huge rush. I'm very anxious about it, but I'm not in a rush. I feel like reactive and instinctive because the big creators have such beautiful, beautiful sets and stuff like that. Professional lights. I've got all this crap on my desk. Got Michael Jordan. I got basketball cards here. I got a bunch of crap I wasted money on. I don't have anything that good YouTubers have. Victor Sneller has a different opinion on gender. Yeah, love to talk about it. The last big story I saw was that UCI Cycling in the U.S., so the United U.S. Cycling Team, there's a transgender female athlete who won the female award. So, yeah, people can be upset, but I love cycling, right? I love cycling more than I love debating about sex and gender personally. Detroit Lions lover says in chat, stop talking. You have no idea what you're talking about. That's true. I feel that way sometimes too. I'm very unrooted over there. I feel bad. I apologize. Yeah, if you guys have suggestions to make me more grounded or feel more rooted, I'm happy to hear it. I know I'm a loose cannon, all that other stuff. Yeah, I've got no idea what I'm doing, as it turns out. Brother says in chat, we were talking about Tommy Robinson. He's a very famous pro-British nationalism sort of apologist for this worldview. I think he could be construed to be talking quite a bit about race and identity politics within this conversation. And what's so wrong with Tommy Robinson? He just wants to preserve England in its best old time. I don't know if that's being sarcastic or real. I'll take it in good faith. Yeah, absolutely. The British had been talking about the power of living on an island away from Europe while being very close to Europe. the power of Western thought, power of technology for nearly hundreds of years. And so when you take in a totality the geopolitical relevance of the UK, to me it seems like, well, you're not allowed to do that. As it turns out, guys, as it turns out, my version of Tommy Robinson thinking about justice is saying you have to share how different people have now been able to talk about the improvements to life that the British have made for Britners, Britannia, for the Irish, even. You can't get away with it, lad. Yeah, for the Europeans even. They're absolute scumbags. What would you have there instead? You'd have people carrying around torches, lighting the place on fire, would you? How would you even reconcile this? How would you reconcile it? How would you tell your mother what you done? Go tell your mother what you done, Tommy Robinson. Yeah, and so my problem with Tommy Robinson is there is no good old time. The world changes, it adapts, it evolves, and as much as the West has an obligation to not interfere in other states' affairs, it has an obligation to pursue justice and reasonable conversations at home. I don't think that there's a form of nationalism that quite looks like these sort of extremist exclusionary groups telling you how to have a conversation. It's very feminine. It's a very masculine way to approach the world. But again, I'm not based, right? I'm not red pill. I'm not that manly of a dude. I just have a beard. I just don't shave. Yeah. David A says, this guy bought his mic at the farmer's market because it's a potato. Absolutely. Every time we raise our voice, it takes us out of it for the next stream. But if you guys are having fun, I'm having fun. I'll buy some aloe vera. I will buy another Motorola 5G and we will have a good time. Yeah, microphones. Yeah, it's cool. I kind of know which microphones I'm looking at into the future if any of you guys record stuff, but you don't need one. You don't need one. It's more important to be able to talk to the camera, talk to the mic, talk to the audience, so don't waste your money at all. Do research. That's your answer. Instead of buying something, go do more research. Go do more research. Tell the markets what they're doing well. You guys spend your time and energy to tell Sony and Panasonic and Rode and whoever it is, BS, like entertainment industry stuff. You guys tell them what they did right and what they did wrong. Don't spend money. I'm going to try and catch up on some of these comments. If we see anything, I'm going to pause and we'll read it. Anything interesting? What's up, Johnny? Good to see you. Most Americans reject the woke ideology and identity politics. That's absolutely right. I agree. I'd like to hear if I got this wrong. I'd like to hear, because I know there's other opinions out there. But I think most Americans actually see their family's financial future. They see their perspective about justice and about some sort of form of level playing field as sort of the core value of American politics. And when there are like intersectional grievances or something, when there's a problem that we're not getting to, and someone says, I want to approach this from a critical group or intersectional perspective, they're saying, because I am a blank, because I am a white male, because I am an indigenous woman, because I grew up in this place or whatever it is. They say this, and most of the times the conversation can steer about injustice or whatever. People want to hear that conversation. They want the social commentary. They want the historical factual basis for those types of dialogues. But that still means that most Americans, I think, is true, and I think there's plenty of places and reasons to believe this to be the case, that a level playing field is the thing that rips open this concept of justice and injustice for us. It rips open this idea of American strength. It rips open this idea of what it's like to live in a peaceful society. A little rhetorical, but let's get there. We can get there. Pale Bones, you whispered to the wall that it wasn't there, and it leaned closer. The ash on your tongue was not from the fire, but from its name. You traced the sigil in sleep backwards, and the silence began to pulse. That's a Victorian blue you've left for me, Pale Bones. You whispered in the wall, it wasn't there, and it leaned closer. The ash on the tip of your tongue was not from the fire, but from its name. You traced the seagull in sleep backwards. Backwards, you say. The silence began to pulse. You begin this power when you start rejecting things, when you reject the way the world wants you to be there. You see that? Pale Bones has a good point in chat. Take notes here. Now when you blink, it answers. Absolutely. Yeah. Bite-sized solutions, bite-sized answers to bite-sized questions. And if you have to use your teeth, everything's bite-sized. And because you're doing things bite-sized, you also get to say yes and no to other things. You get more optionality that way. We're doing a little poetry. If you guys have questions, comments, concerns, if you guys want to leave a comment, I'm saying hi to everybody. Welcome to Duck's Y. My name is Duck, and it is great to see everybody today. Too much art in chat. Pale Bones is hot fire, right? Thank you. Blinking beyond comprehension, inevitably to blink. Rooting is a false claim to hope. A false claim to hope. There's some nihilism in there. Terry Burke says, Donnie Diddler diddled dime dames. Donnie Diddler diddled dime dames. Now, Donnie Diddler diddled dime dames. All right. Got it. I understand. I'm not always going to understand, but who cares? Who cares? How do you even make it better if it's already good? I can't figure it out. Guys, AMA is the title of this post. Please ask me. My name is Duck. I'm not that smart. I'm not that handsome. I'm not that intelligent. I'm not that educated. I'm not that good of a speaker. I don't have a good mic. I don't have a good camera. But if you guys have a question about physics and I can answer it, then I would love to do so. Help me with the disjunctives and the injunctives, being inclusive. I love having you guys here. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, questions about religion, God, Donald Trump, politics, geopolitics, or anything else, I would love to have a conversation. It is so good to see all y'all. Victor Sneller is talking about the British. Liver King can't do an Irish accent. Yeah. I'm the vegan Liver King, by the way. I love the comparison. I do love the comparison. Y'all bring it up. I've been getting Liver King and Homeless Jesus recently, and boy, do I feel like it. I don't think like it. I don't sound like it all the time, but boy, do I feel like it. Woo! Let's go, baby. That was from, I'm just going to try and say the name, Mac Gavin. Good to see you in chat. I appreciate you joining the stream for a little bit. Hussein Bukhari says, Vive l'Irlande. Yeah, good to see you. I don't know if that says life to Ireland. Yeah, Europe and the British Isles have always had these long conversations, not just about nationalism and conservatism, but also about pluralism and multiculturalism. And so really troubling to a lot of places to see that places like Britain and the UK are arresting rock stars and stuff like that. We've seen a decrease in democratic liberties. We've seen an increase in both nationalism and multiculturalist values and a decrease in civility. Cut the bullshit, right? What is this? Sectarian cultural? Sorry, pardon my French. Buddy, get a Dominican barber. Yeah, I need to. Trim the sides off my face. If somebody wants to read Pale Bones' poetry writing and give me a quick review, a quick 50-character review, what you think, I'd love to hear your guys' take. I think it. Ducks Y says, I beg, blink. What type of blink do you have? Do you have a full or robust blink or nothing at all? What can you do for me? Tell me this. You know the etymology of any of these words, huh? Tell me this. You have a story you're putting together, but what about the etymology? Let's see. I don't know any of these ones personally. I bet purpose comes from Latin. I bet shudder has both an Old English as well as an Old English. So the shudder of sight, and what I would say with this, the shudder of sight, the shudder the shudder of sight intimated towards a breaking of a day, right? These are all opening and closing associated relational words. So the shudder of sight intimated a breaking of the day, the kind of which she had never imagined would greet her upon her exit. The shudder of light intimated the breaking of the day, the kind of which she had never imagined she'd see at the breaking of the day. Simple writing by making it easy and relational for your audience, based on etymology and word webs, based on the actual definition and distinction of the word. I'll tell you this in a country accent next time too, by the way. Good to see all y'all. If you guys got any writers, you guys want to do writing stuff, let me know. I love writing. There's some beautiful writing going on in the chat. It is good to see all of you. You need a shave, hobo? Thank you. I appreciate it. Bella CIA. Cool. Pretty Chow or CIA? Which one, y'all? Y'all like intimating simple words and all that stuff? What's up to all my normies, non-normies, friends in chat? This is an AMA stream. If you guys want to ask a question, leave a comment. We're just talking to each other, hanging out. I'd love to talk about philosophy, religion, important topics. If you guys have an important topic you would like to talk about simply, let me know how simply you can write a sentence or a paragraph in it. Thank you for making China number one. Cool. Yeah, China's a good country, right? They have 1 billion people. They have a little bit of that fire of, liberal industriousness. They have a little drive to create wealth and financial security, a little strength with that, a little stability with that. Different ways to do it in China. Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys don't like China, this is tongue-in-cheek. I'm happy to take a positive or criticism of China in good faith. In good faith. Let me know. Sorry, Stormy, ain't no dime. We've got QAnon in chat, I think. Let's go, everybody. The one and only. What's up, bro? Hey, one and only. Thanks for joining. We got one and only in chat. It's good to see you. You can check the title of the video. We're just hanging out. If you feel obliged, then I'm... Brother, are you reading my comments? I thought you were... yeah, if you feel obliged, one and only, feel free. If you have a comment question, I'm not that good in anything, but I can come up with a hot take, a hot, somewhat precise take. And brother, the reason I wasn't reading your comments, I thought you were talking to other folks on the channel. If you guys want to be like brother, if you want to be like Bob, who just showed up, I just saw Bob, you guys can like and subscribe. Feel free to talk amongst yourself. If you guys direct a comment, question, concern towards me, I'm happy to take it. You guys have already voted. We are being optimistic today. That does not mean the fact that we're in a good mood, the fact that we might not always be in a good mood, doesn't mean we can't take on an important, serious, or social topic. I hope you guys are all feeling good today. I hope you guys are all motivated to hang out for a couple minutes or not. There's lots of great channels, lots of great information, entertainment, infotainment on the YouTube universe. So it's good to see all y'all. Bob says the homeless will be in revolt soon. Yes. Well, the way we treat people with dignity when they have no dignity is not very dignified, I would say. So just say that people have dignity and treat them with dignity so that it is dignified. That is my hot take on a homeless crisis, a homeless situation. A homeless choice or lifestyle. A lifestyle. Is that difficult to understand for everybody? Is it? Let's go. Jesus was homeless most of his life. Write a rap. I wrote a rap on the 4th of July. I was going to rap for you guys on July 4th. I did not. I ended up sharing it with one of my subscriptions because I'm also a YouTuber. I use YouTube. The people that host great shows, the people that make great content, I love following a couple of them. It's fun. Something to do. They say things that I don't know, and I say things that they don't know. And so that is a, what's it called? What do they call that? Synchronicity or synergetic. Do you hate Trump? Oh, that's for Bob. Just to clarify for chat, none of the mods in our chat room hate Donald Trump. Some people maybe voted for Donald Trump. Some people, like myself, maybe voted for Kamala. But it's really, how do you hate a person? Who is the person that hates someone else? So I don't want to answer for Bob, but I can tell you that Bob doesn't hate Donald Trump. He may dislike Donald Trump with a fiery passion, but Bob can correct me if I'm wrong. Bob can speak for himself. Amazon Lizard, what is your opinion on Kim Jong-un? Yeah, so Kim Jong-un is Western educated. He comes from a country that has been isolationist for a long time, isolated. Lots of countries have projected power onto Korea, and this has been since the Korean War on account of an attempt to unify Korea in an authoritarian regime. So there's a lot of context. I would imagine Kim Jong-il is a smart, educated guy. He probably also has problems that nobody really gives a shit about geopolitically. I think by and large, leaders should be interested in leadership style problems. Leaders should be interested in human problems that other leaders face. And they should be interested in having human relationships with other leaders and clarifying those types of distinctions. So I don't think Kim Jong-il or Kim Jong-un is a meme. I also think that people always blame problems on, oh, we're just capitalists, so that's why we have problems. Don't get mad about it. Oh, there's just sectarian divides. Don't get mad about it. Oh, we've just been bullied by the world, or, we've been isolated. Don't get mad about it. Well, you haven't done shit to fix the problem either. Nobody has. Nobody's done anything to fix the problem. And so have maturity when you have an actual problem in front of you. Yeah, I don't, and so my truthful answer is I don't know enough about Korea. I don't think Kim Jong-un is a god or a demon. I don't think he's anything different than a person, so. Propaganda. Yeah, propaganda signifies, what propaganda actually does is it tells you that the signifier, the person who talks about the things you like, are these power structures, right? You don't have Piers Morgan by himself. You have Piers Morgan, and then Coca-Cola does an ad, and you see this is my Coca-Cola ad with my glasses. I'm like, I see the can. What the? And then, oh, Coke, right. And you can be with a group of people that, somebody in the group looks like you, but who's the actual focal point of that conversation, right? It is the person in the ad. And, when they go up, that like, this is a person who enjoys drinking Coca-Cola, and maybe they should. How else do you drink a Coke, right? Do you want to have a bad time when you spend money and your stomach's going to process calories? Like, oh, this is the F all right, bro. This is the F all right. So propaganda is this ability for advertisers to narrow your focus on who signifies the good and what is that thing that there is being signified. What are those relationships? What is the meaning in reality about those things? So we can talk a lot more about that. I'd love to have sort of a group conversation about the sort of both the emotive and linguistic analytic sort of distinctions that we get when we watch media. Yeah, I would recommend you guys do like some Googling and stuff like that. Yeah, I didn't learn about this stuff until I was like in my 30s, so I love talking about it. That's why I'm doing an AMA, guys. That's why I'm AMA. I hope that was a good definition of propaganda, guys. Are we winning? What do you guys think? Let's get after it, buddy. Let's get after it. We are all on right now. We are all about the linguistics. We are all about the linguistical, syntactical, reactical, backpactical. I pack it back to a pack mule in Peru. McWorld versus the Magna Mac, easily duplicated, like Superman and Stan changing in a phone booth, trying to not be so whack. I try to react to manifest destiny, but natalism got me twisted like a pretzel with destiny. That's just a big chest to me. Do you not see? I'm usually not that uncouth. I usually don't talk about females changing in a phone booth, but who is it to you? It's actually true. I drink Mountain Dew. I'm not that cool. I can rhyme words in 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s, and 2s. I do think paraconsistent, nonlinear. Collinear, that's a disaster. Going back to turkey sandwiches with Alex in Macedonia, chasing down the master. It's kind of craft. It's kind of crass. That's a Roman tax collector. Bitch. What's up? What's good? Count me out. Count me out. Count me in, kids. I'm innovative. I'm in it. I'm just kidding. Sorry to all the all humans in the chat for what you just observed. Are moral values and duties like murder is wrong or helping others is good universally true, independent of human opinions, or are they just an expressions of culture and emotions? This is from Alexa YG or Alexei G95 in chat. That's a big question. That's a big question. We could talk for 45 minutes on this, so let's be honest about that first. That's a big question. I think morality is objective. I think you have to be talking about well-being as a concept, well-being as both an is and the ought, corresponding to reality. And so this is answering the question, talking about epistemology, right? We're talking about epistemology, we're talking about metaphysics, but if we're going to say it's universally true, we need to have epistemology and metaphysics. So a simple way to say that is that well-being is not. It's that simple. Well-being is some way, and then it also ought to be some way. I also, in terms of like moral anti-realism or subjective or existentialist worldviews, I think it's fine for people to have a moral stance or to signify concepts differently and have that same meta-ethical dialogue. And so, well, I would say there isn't an ought. What if I just say, well, in a society, I'm never, to your question, like culture and emotion, opinions, like in a society, we're never actually talking about all ises and all oughts. We're never talking about all conceptions of well-being. And so the moral good in a society is something like that civic virtue or that sort of civil responsibility. It's that social organization where even if you are believing or come to believe that morality is culturally subjective, we're still talking about an is and an ought from my point of view. So yeah, it's universal. Morality is universal, and it's also universally true that if you believe in moral subjectivism, without trying to subsume you, I think that's a valid belief system. Good question, Alexei G. It's a very interesting discussion. MAGA folks, this is from Pachamama Radio. Good to see you again. Pachamama's joined a couple streams, so if you're in chat, say what's up. It's good to see you. MAGA fans would rather give corporations tax breaks than giving their neighborhood school funds for low-income children meals. Yep, absolutely. When we talk about short-term and long-term investments, one of the main reasons, which Pachamama Radio is bringing up here, that progressives and a lot of centrists in the United States support education is because we know education does drive GDP. We should also believe that education drives these pro-social mechanisms to build a more just society. It builds more mechanisms for us to actually include more people, even if we don't always see that or we don't always talk about how that's the case. How is that? Why is that true? So I agree with this statement quite a bit. I think we ought to fund education from my own political stance. We ought to fund education. I think people often overestimate people use rhetoric and sophistry, from my opinion, to describe what people are capable of without the support of the social safety net or the social structure of a society. Scroll up, Duck, and check out my favorite, very elaborate and elegant definition of propaganda from Bob. Anytime Bob talks, guys, Bob always sends us on 20-minute tangents, so we're not doing that because I got to go somewhat soon. But this is Bob, guys. This is one of our best mods on the channel. No offense to our other mods. And Bob says, okay, here's my definition of propaganda. We're going to pin it up. Propaganda isn't real. The government loves you. Don't ask questions. Propaganda isn't real. The government loves you. Don't ask questions. You guys understand that? Let it sit for a second. If you guys are curious about propaganda and you don't want to pull out a 300 or 700 page book on Noam Chomsky, I just pinned Bob's definition of propaganda up. Give it 2 minutes. Give it a read and give it a minute or two. We'll still be here while you're reading, while you're thinking. Yeah, Alexei G, thanks again for asking. That's a great question. Welcome to the channel. This is Duck's Why. My name's Duck. I try and remember people. If you want to like and subscribe, if you like having these conversations, and there's lots of great channels, so it's good to see you. I'd love to do more philosophy, religion, stuff like that. If you guys want to do that, no pressure. We can talk about the Diddy case. We can talk about Gator, Gitmo, and Alligator Alcatraz, and Donald Trump, and Kristi Noem, and all this stuff too. If you guys want to do philosophy, theology, religion, politics, let me know. It's good to have all of y'all. Samuel says champagne bottle. Good to see you in chat. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. All right, guys, I got maybe time for 1 or 2 more questions today. I appreciate everybody who hung out and chatted. You guys make the time worth it. You guys make the Ducks Y channel worth it. I appreciate you guys joining. I know it's just YouTube mobile, but you know, people should be grateful. We should have higher standards for one another very casually, right? Let's not push people to make kind of content they don't like, and let's not let content creators push around an audience to think or be some way they don't want to be. We have Bob's definition of propaganda up. If you guys have another question that isn't about, thank you, Johnny, for the question, but Johnny says, is TDS real? If you guys have a different type of question about religion, philosophy, politics, Donald Trump, about geopolitics, about meta-ethics, about physics, about the philosophy of physics, about the philosophy of science, if you guys have a question about social commentary like the P. Diddy case or the Jeffrey Epstein files, if you have evidence you want to bring about a conspiracy, I am happy to discuss. If you guys want to talk about epigenetics or genetics, we had already talked about those topics. I am so excited for you guys to have joined today. I'm not particularly handsome, intelligent, smart, educated, any of that stuff, but if I can answer your question as an AMA or if we can have a good dialogue, we can get you guys talking in chat, having a good time for a couple minutes. That makes me so happy. I hope that makes y'all happy too. Now Johnny's speaking truth. Guys in chat, I want you to learn from Johnny. Johnny asked a subpar question, which was, is TDS real? And then when he stepped up into the microphone, Johnny weighing in at an IQ of about 65 to 120, but IQ doesn't matter. Johnny says, did God save Trump to defeat the gay trans Democrats? Johnny, that is the best question I've ever heard. That is the best question I've ever heard. I need 1 million more questions just like that. You understand? I need 10. I need 1 million. Johnny, did you look at the newspaper today, and is that how you got such a good question in front of you? What did you look at? Who did you look at? I don't think God intervened in Donald Trump. I think somebody got lucky. I think it is good Donald Trump is here today. I don't think that needs to be stated, in fact. What type of discussion are we having then? Do you understand? Johnny driving the conversation. I appreciate you, brother. I don't mean to yell. I was just joking, anyways. It's good to see Johnny in chat. And S Clap, how much? Yeah. Hey, good to see you in S Clap. If you have a question, comment, concern about religion or philosophy, I am happy to help. Let's have a conversation. Let's do it. Yes. Yeah, the Nazis used all kinds of substances. I don't think societies understood drug abuse that well back in the day. We were just discovering chemistry. So if you think about it, the phenomenology or the perception you'd have, a doctor asking you, how do you feel when you use whatever it is? When you take a substance to cure an ill, maybe you have whatever it was called, rhymes with copium, rhymes with copium. Maybe you take a substance to cure cough, right? That is part of what that type of narcotic substance does. And so while that's happening, you just have chemists and doctors, physicians, and people in the military saying, well, how do you feel? How do you feel in 5 years? I can maybe think that far, but if I don't have a neurochemical definition of what's happening, I don't know about neurotransmitters in the brain, or I don't have a granular enough view of all this stuff, then the occult and the QAnon, the conspiracy theories around, Nazi meth use or whatever it is. No offense, guys. I don't mean to be offensive. I don't want to turn anybody off to that discussion, but Bob knows a lot more. Guys, this is, again, building Bob's reputation. If you guys check out Bob in chat, Duck, your opinion on Operation Werewolf employed by the Nazis. You guys don't know, Bob was both in the CIA and a CIA experiment. Bob is the product of government research while being part of the government. So no offense, guys, but you guys got to ask Bob about Operation Werewolf. Bob is so old. He was in the OSS, when they first got started. That's how old Bob is. Thoughts on Operation Paperclip? I don't know that much about Operation Paperclip. Hope Americans got room for their old moms to move back in. Yeah, absolutely. That's a big political issue. Yeah, under Biden, there were visa programs for healthcare workers. I think a lot of Americans, like everyone else, say, let's come up with a market-based democratic solution to aging and social health problems. We talk about social health. A lot of that has to do with whoops, I'm misrepresenting Bob's past and history. Bob was the anti-gravity guy. Yeah. Bob was the guy who held a wrench while they were installing the G-force trainers for pilots and stuff. And so if they ran out of test dummies, they would say, "Hey Bob, put the wrench down outside of the device." Obviously, Bob. Obviously, that's what you have to do. And then Bob would be the guy that steps in and they would test G-forces. That's Bob lore. It's funny. Okay, guys. USSR will rise again. I used to have a CCCP shirt back in the day. You guys can see I'm a little more patriotic nowadays. I got a Vans off the wall shirt on. I'm gonna close out the stream, guys. Maybe we'll do more later tonight. If you guys want to like and subscribe, good to see you. Hey, whoever just joined, sorry, I can't read. I don't know any Slavic languages. It's good to see you. Love to have a conversation some other time. Sorry, I'm not the cosmopolitan worldly guy, but it's good to see you in chat. We are just closing out the stream. Thanks so much for everybody who joined. Thanks so much everybody who was having conversation, and I hope to see y'all again sometime soon. My name is Duck. This is Duck's Y, and have a great night.